I want to talk about test format stuff and note card stuff, and then I'm going to let you guys go to work. Sound good?
Is the note card due today?
Yes. Yeah, we said that last time. All right. So, test format. Things that you'll be asked to do. You should be able to list the values for A, C, H, and K from an equation. Based on the homework quizzes, we're a little shaky on that, particularly with the C. You had to remember that that's the reciprocal of what it looks like in the formula. Probably would have made some mistakes on the H as well, but there wasn't an H in the homework quiz problem, so you got bailed out there. But make sure you're good on doing that. Everything that you do in like 4 of these other problems is based on your ability to find the A, C, H, and K. So if you can't do that, it's a big problem. Next item is from an equation. You should be able to describe the transformation that occurs in words. I have highlighted here that I will give you the criteria. So the way that I wrote that is like this. This is also in OneNote on the note card page. If you don't like the way this is written and you want it the way we talked about it in notes, then you got to write on your note card in that way. This is the way I typed it in because it was briefer and take up like a whole page for me to type it out. Everybody okay? In order, though, to write a description, what do you have to do first? You got to find A, C, H, and K. You got to have them. If you can't do that correctly, your description's going to be wrong. Next type question, calculate amplitude, midline, period, and frequency from an equation. To do that, what do you need to have first? A, C, H, and K. If you don't have those, you can't plug them into the formulas correctly. You can get stuff wrong. Write an equation of a sinusoid from a description. So that's like worksheet 4. And write an equation of a sinusoid from a graph. That's like worksheet 5. I'll tell you the function to use, whether it's sine or cosine. And then draw and generate points from an equation. So like a graphing problem. What's the first thing you need to do before you start trying to graph something? A, C, H, and K. Got to have those or else you're not going to get the right points and you can't plot the right things. Okay? So that's your test description. There's 8 total questions. They'll be in format similar to that. This test in particular, I think the note card is super important because there was a lot of little formulas and stuff to remember here. I've collected a lot of that information that at a minimum, if I were a student about to take this test, that I would want to include on my note card. So I wrote down the general form of my functions here. So in place of trig, that's sine, cosine, or tangent, right? Trig could be any of those depending on, but that's how I find my A, C, H, and K. I wrote down my formulas for sine or cosine, how to find amplitude, midline, period, frequency, and then the same for tangent. Again, this was the criteria for describing the transformation. I will give you this version. You don't need to put that on your note card. It'll be on the test. But if you don't like that version, it's on you to put on the version, write it the way you like it. If we're going to be doing graphing, I want to make sure that I have this map for how do I get my new points. I'll definitely need that. And then what I did here was I kind of wrote down some directions to myself on how to attack these different kinds of problems. So if I want to go from an equation to a graph, I start by finding the A, C, H, and K. I remember that C is the reciprocal of the coefficient of X. H is the opposite sign, it appears. And I have to make sure to factor before finding H. I bolded that one because it's easy to forget to do that. What I did then is I want to calculate my amplitude, midline, period, and frequency using the formulas. I noted that the period and frequency are different for tangent, so I want to make sure I grab the right formulas. And then I use my little map to generate my new points and plot them and stuff. Everybody's okay? If I want to go from graph to equation, I find the midline. That'll give me the K. Hi, Miss Garcia.
Hi.
Who are those for?
Chris Hanna or Will Hanna?
Will Hanna's right here. You want to see?
Leaving all your stuff in the caf and then I'm bringing it to you hand delivered. You can at least get up and get it.
Maybe say thank you.
Thank you.
It's like you're my daughter. She's 5. All right.
I could have grabbed your water bottle, but I saw it.
Again, we're going from graph to equation. The next thing I do is find my amplitude. That'll give me the absolute value of A. Then I find my period. I can use that to solve for C because I know period is either 2 pi absolute value C or pi absolute value C, depending on whether I have a sine or a sine, cosine, or a tangent. If it's a sine function that I'm doing, the x coordinate from the midline point is going to give me my h, and the type of midline point is going to give me the sine of A. So remember, the extrema after the midline point tells you the sine. So if the extrema after your midline point is a max, then A is positive. If it's a min, A is negative. If I'm doing a cosine, then I'm going to use a min or a max. The x-coordinate is going to be my h, and the type of extrema will give me my sine for A. Again, min is negative, max is positive. And then if I want to go from a description to an equation, to find the midline, if I have a min and a max, I do the average of the y-coordinates from those mins and maxes. If I have a midline point, then the k is just the y-coordinate. If I have a free point, I'm going to choose that free point to be a midline point, so the k is just the y-coordinate. To find the amplitude, if I have a min and a max, to find the amplitude, I look at the average difference of the y-coordinates. If I have an extreme point, like a min or a max, that's what EP stands for, and a midline point, then my amplitude is just the absolute value of the difference in those y-coordinates. To find the period, if I have a min and a max, I know 1/2 period is the absolute value of the distance between those x-coordinates. If I have a midline point and then some other extreme point, the next extreme point, so another, midline point and a max or midline point and a min, then I know it's going to be a quarter period is the difference in those x-coordinates. Yes? Sure. And if I have a min or a max and then I have the second min or max after that, that's going to be 3.5 periods is going to be the difference in the x-coordinates. If I'm given a midline point or a free point, then the x-coordinate is just going to be the h. And I can use the type of midline point to decide whether that a should be positive or negative. If I have a min or a max, I'm going to use cosine, and the h is just the x-coordinate. And again, whether it's a min or a max tells me the sine for A. So I kind of wrote up here like directions to myself on like what to do in certain circumstances. If I'm building my note card, that's kind of the way that I would like to do it, rather than just like a bunch of examples that maybe or maybe not cover what I need. Because there's a lot of different kind of variations of these problems that we saw when we're doing the homeworks, right? So if I'm making a note card, that's kind of the way that I would design my note card. This, what you're looking at right now, is in your OneNote on the content library. It's called Note Card under Chapter 3. Another hint for you guys is I noticed in the first test, not a lot of you guys seemed like you used your note card a whole lot. My suggestion to you is before you turn your note card in today, take a picture of it. When you work on your review, have the note card that you turned in sitting next to you. Practice using the note card on the review so you know what kinds of problems are this note card really helpful for? Where's the information on my note card that's helpful for this type of problem? Practice using it. It'll be really, I think, beneficial for a lot of us to do that before the test, right? Is everybody okay? Yes, Sammy.
The review is not due this Sunday, it's next Sunday.
Correct. Okay, good. I'm going to pass back your homework quizzes. If you have any individual questions on anything we've done so far, feel free to come up and talk to me. But other than that, I'm going to get out of your way and let you guys go. Remember, what are the directions for the note card? How big is it? Half sheet. Can you write on how many sides? Both sides. How do you have to write it? Handwritten. When is it due? Today. But you have the rest of the hour to work on it, getting it together. Everybody's cool? All right. I'm done talking.